Hey guys, Walter Fedczuk here to tell you that Unicorn.com may be the world's premier esports betting site, but they're also your best bet for keeping up with all the esports you love. With their site's newest update, they've reinvented their Live Now system and created a TV guide style layout to find out when your favorite teams will be playing next. And if that isn't simple enough, they've even added a search bar to help filter it down even further. And you know, even if you aren't a gambling fan, Unicorn's newest update is a must-have for any esports fan. And you might even discover your favorite new writer in their news section. We've got my man Drowlin with some excellent CSGO content, and you can find some fantastic articles from my lovely co-host, Chase Wassenar, as well. So check out the new layout at Unicorn.com, because there are few places where you can stay up to date on all your favorite esports, and Unicorn can help. Unicorn.com. Welcome to the new Sportsbook.
Hello, Internet. This is Chase RedShirtKing Wassenar, and welcome to Week 6 of the NA LCS Guess the Lines podcast. That's right, for all you North American fans who might have missed it on our EU episode. Walter has the belt, the Guess the Lines championship belt. He's been on a roll recently. He's tied up with me in our challenge. He's got the new belt now. He's got Rift Rivals under his belt. This is all going horrendously wrong for me, so I'm going to have to try to make up for it. But until then, why don't we ask my good friend and co-host and Guess the Lines champion, Walter Ceades Fedczuk. How you doing, man?
It's Guess the Lines World Heavyweight Champion. You need to get the title right, but at least you watched the video and you now know how to appropriately and respectfully address me. So I will concede that. Thank you so much. It is great to be here. It is wonderful to be back talking about the superior region in the world that is North America. Because as Kelsey Moser brought up on Twitter, if you look at the percentage of games won at Rift Rivals, North America was like 71%. That was the highest of any region that competed at any Rift Rivals. So I have to say, North America is number one, and it is only appropriate that we get back to Season 0 League of Legends, where Chicks Dig Elo won the 2010 WCG Championship, the unofficial first World Championship in League of Legends. So cheers to everyone, and like I said, European fans, you guys still have time to become citizens of Denmark and join the United States as the 51st state. You still have plenty of time. It's still going through parliamentary procedure. So get over there, establish your citizenship. I need to learn their national anthem or something so I can drive them into the arms of the United States.
I mean, good luck learning how to speak Danish. That's a tough language. But also, I guess, is this a bad time to point out that Turkey won 84% of their games in their Rift Rivals event over Russia? Because they actually had the most of any one region. Because they only lost 3 games across the entire event, having 4 teams that each played 4 each, and then the 3 teams.
Major region.
Yeah, there you go.
Actual major region. Come on, Turkey's.
It's a North American trait to always come up with more and more qualifiers to justify the good things that you do. It's great. Look, this is the superior region right now, and we do need to talk about how they proved themselves as the better team in this Rift Rivals event. As much as it breaks my European heart, this is a North American squad, and more specifically, your North American squad that ultimately came out on top. How are you feeling about TSM after this event? Are you feeling better or worse than you did heading into it? Has it changed any of your assessments of them?
So I feel better because it looked like season 6 TSM. It looked like double lift, going into Worlds, one of the top 4 teams in the world. It had that kind of swagger to it. Look at Svenskeren. Svenskeren was the MVP of the finals, and despite the fact that Mike Young won the MVP of the group stage, Svenskeren looked good. I can't really remember too many times of him blindly invading and getting caught out. It seems like he's got that swagger back. He's all right, I know I can style on these kids. I know I can go out there and make plays. I can force things to happen. And maybe it was just because he was against weaker, aggressive early game junglers. Going back and watching some film and you're looking at the European junglers, they make plays through like lane ganks mostly, or by using the blast cones to hop over walls. Like they aren't I'm running a straight path at you. They're more of I'm gonna kind of sneak my way in here and I'm gonna set up in this bush or that type of thing. Where a lot of the North American junglers are like, your jungle is my jungle now. I'm going to walk into your jungle. I'm going to come kill you. I'm going to then go around behind your top laner, force their flash. I'm going to go do my gromp, and then I'm going to go right back top through the river. And, like, they're very much... It seems telegraphed if you had good warding, but it is more of a brute force. We're coming to get you. We're hunting you down. It feels like if you played, like, the Friday the 13th game, it's like... Jason, when he just activates his like teleport ability, he just zooms right towards where the campers are, and then all of a sudden he's in the middle of a group of 4 kids, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna kill all of you now. It's great. If you haven't played the game, play it. It's fun. I think it's past its like fad stage where everyone on Twitch is playing it, but it's great. It's good fun. So that was kind of like, that was TSM especially. I think Contracts had some moments where he was kind of skittish, not really having much international competitive experience. I feel like Cloud9 was the weakest of the North American teams by far. I thought their laners were pretty weak outside of Jensen. I thought that the only playmaker on the Rift for them was Jensen, and then these occasional moments where Contracts pulled up his big boy pants and said, all right, I'm going to do what Mike Young is doing and just go balls to the wall. Mike Young played like a man possessed. I don't think he has any fear.
No.
Like, I think he is just relishing all of this attention and relishing this moment and going, I might not be here next split. I might not be here in 6 weeks. So I'm just going to go all out. And he's a straight baller. He just doesn't care. And the difference is going to be in his second split, because he's going to be in there for a second split. Like, he has earned a spot in the LCS as a starting jungler to me. Now it's going to be getting smarter. And I don't want that, like, becoming a smarter jungler to lose that edge, to lose that sense of aggression. But at the same time, the winds of a meta change are coming. And that, I don't know if you're going to be able to play Nidalee. I don't know how much you're going to be able to play, like, a full damage Lee Sin. I don't know how much you're going to be able to play full AP Elise. Like, I'm not certain about these things, especially as we move back into Rek'Sai and Gragas and Zac, where you can be aggressive junglers on them, but if you get a whole bunch of gold and a whole bunch of kills on them, you can't really carry the game. But as a whole, North America looked great. They looked like they adapted to the meta, and they forced all the European teams to play North America's style, and Europe just was kind of dragged along for the ride. Like, they were happy to be there. They're like, we stayed home, we don't have to travel. Like, it's whatever, no big deal. Staycation.
Two things I think that you pointed out that I really want to address. The first about Mike Young, and you talk about that fearlessness that's defining him. He had an interview with Kelsey Moser on Slingshot Esports that I highly recommend to people if you're interested in learning more about him as a player. I think he's kind of a fascinating story right now. And his quote when talked about this is that, quote, "I've learned that the best way to play is to play without the fear of making a mistake. How I want to play from here on out is, even if I go 0-6, even if I feed, I'll know that I'm still making proactive plays. I'm not going to have any regrets." That is 100% what we want to hear from a guy in this spot. It's the kind of thing that made us fall in love with Acadian and why I still value him quite highly.
Yep.
I think that what we learned at this event that really echoes that sentiment is that being proactive, especially in the early game, is essential in this meta in order to survive. I think that the big flaw that we saw exposed in Europe, as I mentioned on yesterday's pod, is that they didn't have that proactiveness. They were so used to staying back and waiting to scale up, and it looked cleaner because there weren't as many fights happening in the early game, but it was hiding a larger problem.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't a lot of early deaths or whatever else that you would kind of associate with weird play, but there weren't decisions being made. And when North America was able to dictate the pace of the game, it went very nicely for them, and they were able to do quite well at the event. I'm less worried about Cloud9 than you are. I think I'll get into that more when we talk about an individual game.
Okay. I hate this because everyone takes what I say about Cloud9 as I'm worried about them, or I don't like them, or this or that, and I keep hating having to repeat myself. They're a good team. I don't think they can be great with this roster. That's the difference. There is a very thin line between good and great. Can this team win an NA LCS title? Absolutely. I totally think that they can win an NA LCS title. They might win it this year if their top laner decides to get its head back in his its brain back in his head or whatever. Like, that's totally possible. I don't think they can become great in a way that you see TSM bringing back Doublelift goes from good to great. Like, there is a line between being a good team and being a great team, and then there's a line between being a great team and being SKT levels of great. We had Rocks Tigers that constantly bounced between that type of line, where some moments they looked like, yep, we can take on SKT, and then there were other moments where you're like, nah, SKT is just that step above. I don't think with this roster, with Impact/Ray, with Contracts, with Jensen, with Sneaky, and Smoothie, that Cloud9 roster can be great, can be competitive on a large-scale international scene, where we're talking about Worlds, when we're talking about if they showed up at MSI, that type of thing. That's what I'm looking at when I see that. Like, Cloud9 is great. They're one of the best franchises in North America. They're one of the best teams in North America year in and year out. I want to see them go from good to great, and I don't think with Sneaky and with Impact/Ray, they can make that leap. I think with Jensen, Smoothie, and Contracts, they have a core that can be part of that team. But you have Sneaky and you have Impact/Ray. Impact and Ray are their own separate thing, but you have Sneaky that he is the same exact guy since Season 4. I don't think he's improved by as much as Jensen is split to split, which I will concede. He somehow continues to improve. I don't get it, but statistically, he's the best player in North America and probably the best player in the West, so fine, I'll concede. Jensen keeps improving, but I don't see that with Sneaky at all.
Yeah, there's a great quote on Twitter, and I forget which analyst said this, but someone pointed out that there's a mistake that we make from time to time where we associate consistency with skill level. Sneaky is an incredibly consistent player. He's been consistent throughout his entire career. Yep. He's consistently good. He's not great. He's good. He performs in a competent level. He's not going to be the thing that kills you. But he's also not the big playmaker more often than not. He'll have a couple games here and there, but he's not the guy that this team needs to rely upon if they're going to win games. He's not really asked to be, so you can argue whether or not that's a good or bad. I lean towards the side of they would be better off finding a long-term option that has a little bit more of a ceiling. I will say the one thing that gives me an idea that maybe Cloud9 can get from good to great on an international kind of scale is acquiring Lulex as a specifically early game pathing coach. They brought him in not really to push Contracts per se, but to just add that kind of insight as to how the early game works and how you can find these little advantages, how you can be more mobile around the map. And I think that's been Cloud9's biggest weakness over the past year. Like, Jensen stayed in lane 100% of the time in the spring split, right? They had to kind of play around the idea that for the first 15 minutes they weren't going to make a lot of plays. I think they started to try some things at Rift Rivals. It didn't necessarily work, let's be clear. Ray, for instance, had a 1.6 KDA at this event. It did not go very well for him when he came on. And Impact, it didn't go very well for him either. You can tell that the top laners were not used to getting as little attention as they did. So that's something that they're still figuring out the details of it. But I do think it gives them a higher ceiling in the long run to make that change. So I'm very curious to see how that develops. That's the one thing I think that might shift their ceiling versus what I'd seen from them in the past. But we have to see. Cloud9's brought in a whole bunch of coaches before where we've said the same kind of thing. So we need to see it actually take that next step. But that'll be something to watch. You know what else you should be watching? Our smart money bets in North America, because we're killing it. We went 2-1 last week. Envious plus 170 over Dignitas. That was a win. We had Cloud9 even over CLG. Very close series. Didn't end up going our way, but I feel good about the bet. Mm-hmm. And TSM plus 115 over Immortals. The fact that TSM had plus odds against Immortals was silly, and we were happy to take advantage of that. That puts it at 10-6 for the split. We have $731 in the black in North America.
Woo!
Yeah, we're killing it.
And it only makes sense that it's the North American region where, I don't have to pick up the belt. You guys can see right here, I got the little symbol that shows that I'm the champion. So I don't have to inundate you with the belt all the time. I'm the champ. North America 1 Rift Rivals. We're super in the black in North America. Like, Chase, buddy, it's just all falling apart for you.
It's been a rough couple weeks. I'm not going to lie. Watching Rock, I think as soon as Rockcat lost to Vitality, I knew things were not going my way, and it's just kind of spiraled from there. Immortals went 0-2. Rift Rivals happened. I don't like any of this, but I'm going to try to turn things around by putting out a good performance here in our Guess the Lions Challenge. And we start with CLG versus FlyQuest. First series of the week. CLG, the team that a lot of people were hoping, were wishing could go to the event, right? They were like, oh man, I can't believe we're going to send Phoenix 1 when CLG is right here in a much stronger team at this moment in time. Obviously, Phoenix 1 proved a lot of people wrong, and we're very happy that they did. But I don't think that should hamper the CLG hype. Where are you standing on the CLG hype after a nice win over Cloud9 last week?
Can they win Game 2? Can we not have a 3-game series? Wasn't this a huge knock against TSM in the spring that like every game goes to 3 games? Why does every series have to go to 3 games? Yeah, again, this is another team that I look at them and I go, okay, how do they go from good to great? And I think for them, it's consistency. Like, can I just get one best of 3 series where it goes 2 games, it's decisive game 1, decisive game 2, Dardoch styles on everyone, Darshan does what he has to do in the top lane, Hui plays, 2 of the 35 champions that he knows how to play, but he plays them well. The bot lane is the most consistent part of this thing. Like, I'm not worried about Aphromoo or Stixxay at all. Like, they're fine, but when I talk about consistency, it's this upper half of the map where I'm just like, I know I need at least 2 of you guys to be okay. Like, I need 2 of you guys to play well. The third just needs to be like, eh. You can be the bar. Like, you can be mediocre. But, like, the other 2 have to play great, and then this team does well. But when 2 of those guys are just off, especially Dardoch, because Dardoch influences so much of the map when he's on his game, I'm worried. Like, what happens when this goes to a best of 5? Like, we've seen game 1 is excellent from CLG, game 2 is mediocre, they look like crap, and then game 3 is somewhere in the middle. Okay, what happens in game 4? What happens in game 5? Like, is game 4 they're going to be amazing again? In game 5 they're going to be trash? Like, I don't know. But the fact that they can't take care of business against teams that they're better than in best of 3 series, and that even against good teams, they look so brutally dominant in game 1, and then take a giant steaming poo in game 2. Who's showing up? Who's showing up game in and game out? Who's going to show up day in and day out? Like, I'm so confused by this team, because this team could be really, really good. Like, this team could go undefeated in the region if they were consistent. If they were playing at 80% of their best game in and game out, this would be a 2-horse race between TSM and CLG to win the title.
Yeah.
Now it's TSM's on top, and there's these other 3 teams kind of clustered beneath them. And if I'm anyone, I want CLG to be the force. Like, I want to play CLG in the playoffs. I would love to play against CLG in the playoffs. I think they're the weakest of those 4 teams, which sucks. Because I love Dardoch. I want to see him at Worlds.
Yeah, it's weird that we're saying this about the team that's in first, but I think you could really tell when you looked at social media for last week. The joke was, oh man, Team Liquid's so bad they can't even beat CLG in game 2. Like, that's where we are, right? This is this inconsistency that has become so marked for them and has plagued them to such a large extent. And as an Immortals fan, I told you guys this was going to happen at the beginning of the split, because you have Dardoch as the jungler. Like, that's just... he is perfectly, he is the essence of this problem. I'm not going to say that he is always the problem. There are other players that certainly make mistakes in those games. It's not like only Dardoch is throwing in game 2. But Dardoch is a player, he's very feast or famine. He's very, all in or just completely shut out. And I think that the team mimics that. That's something that Immortals really struggled with, is they would do really well in game 1, and then they'd lose in game 2. And the problem with Immortals is they couldn't win that game 3. And CLG deserves credit. They're winning that game 3. But it's not the cleanest game 3. And you really would, if we want to say that you are the best team in the league, that you deserve the #1 ranking, and no one should, can step to that, it shouldn't be quite this hard for you to get that best of 3 win. They're making it harder for themselves. TSM has the better game score if you look at individual maps versus series, and I think that shows where they are right now. What do you think the line for this is, Walter, as they go off against FlyQuest?
FlyQuest won last week.
Yeah. FlyQuest won twice last week. We'll get to the
CLG minus 350.
Ah, dang it. You got that. I went too low. I said CLG minus 333. CLG minus 476. Casinos are not believing yet, at least with that line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does that put FlyQuest?
Plus 320. It's in play.
I mean,
I can't. Well, we'll get into some FlyQuest thoughts later. But it's complicated.
What's 3 maps on this? 3 maps is definitely going to be good odds.
Yeah, 3 maps on this is going to be plus 135. It's actually quite nice. So that's in play.
That's something.
We're gonna move on.
That's something.
Immortals versus Echo Fox. Can you do me a favor and talk me off the ledge? Because I mean, at the time, like when we lost to TSM, I was like, look, TSM's a great team. There's no shame in losing to TSM. They're one of the best teams in the league. They're always top tier team. It makes us 1-1 over the split. I'm happy we got a single win over TSM in the regular season. Like if you asked preseason Chase and he's like, hey, we go 1-1 against TSM this split, are you happy with that? I would say yes. But losing to Phoenix 1 is a little bit different to me. That's a different level of loss. Not to take away from anything P1 is doing. I think they might be the most dangerous 6 seed in the hunt for the 6 seed that we've had in a long time. But as Immortals, like, I mean, what do we make from this? Is this this team has proven that they're not as good as we thought they were, or is this they had one bad week and they're going to get back on the horse this week and turn things around?
I want to say it's. I really do want to say, there's just they just got knocked off last week. It was a bump in the road. I'm worried what the ceiling is for this team, because we sort of know who Flame is in his career. We sort of know who Xmithy is. We sort of know who Pobelter is. The only ones we really don't have a very firm picture of is this bot lane of Ale and Cody's son. Cody, I like, the jury's still out on him, I think, in my opinion. Like, we still need to see him. We haven't seen him in, like, a Corki Ezreal Triforce meta yet. We haven't really seen him in, like, a super hard late game carry meta that is just starting to sort of rear its ugly head with Tristana and Twitch and Kog'Maw and Caitlyn. Like, we still haven't seen him in these other kind of metas. So I'm not saying we're anywhere close to knowing what his ceiling is, what his floor is, whether he's a good AD carry, a bad AD carry, anything. And Ale, again, like, we've seen a bit of him internationally. If you pay attention to LMS, you pay attention to him when he was in Korea, like, we sort of know who he is. And he's a rich man's Kiwi kid. And, like, that's okay. A rich man's Kiwi kid can work. You can make that sort of player really fit into what you're doing. I'm just not sure all of these pieces go together the way they're currently playing. Like, Flame can make plays. That's great. That's fine. I don't know if you've seen the new Thornmail changes, but Flame is never going to play another carry champion for as long as he lives while that item is in the game. He's going to go back to tanks, and he can play tanks. It's not like he's bad at them, but it sort of is going to, like, damage him like it's going to damage Someday. I don't want to see him on tanks. I want to see him on a Camille, on Renekton, on more of these carry style of champions where they can exert more influence straight up by just deleting people instead of, like, okay, I've got to protect my carries. And the big thing that this points to me is Pobelter. Pobelter has to be the primary carry then. And we've only seen one split out of Pobelter where he's okay being the primary carry, where he's like where that fits in that mold, and that was the summer split with Immortals when they had Hooney and Rainover. Hooney was the primary carry, but Pobelter was a really good secondary carry. That was the split that Wild Turtle kind of fell off, and they sort of switched roles, where Pobelter was more the secondary carry and Wild Turtle was the the tertiary, more the utility guy with Ash and whatnot. That was the only time in Pobelter's entire career where he's really looked like, yeah, I can be a secondary carry. Even when he was playing on CLG, he was playing third fiddle to Zion Spartan and Double Lift. Like, this now, he is going to have to be the primary carry on this team because I don't want to put that pressure on Cody's son. I don't want to tell this guy that's only been really competitive for, this is his second split in the LCS. I don't want to tell him and be like, all right, 35 minutes into a game, I need someone to get a quadra kill here. Cody, it's on you. Like, you have to do it with Tristan or Twitch or Caitlyn. Like, you have to do this when we haven't seen him play those champions a lot. Like, I want to put that on my veteran. I want to put that on Pobelter and be like, listen, like, you're playing Syndra or Orianna. I need you to hit a 4-man shockwave for me. And I'm afraid Pobelter isn't that guy. I'm afraid he's very comfortable just being that third guy on the team. He's like, I'm positive he is more comfortable being like Chris Bosh on Miami with LeBron and Wade than he is being Chris Bosh once Wade and LeBron left. Like, that's the difference, is he needs to have that moment where he's like, all right, I'm the alpha dog, let me do this. And I just don't think he has it in him.
If you were going to point to a time in which he was the primary carry, 2015 spring on Winter Fox, excuse me. He was the number one guy on a team that was surrounded by not good talent. Hold on. Bad team. They won 7 games. People forget this. They went 7-11. That is better than most of the bad teams we think of when we think of the worst teams in the LCS. The fact that roster won 7 games was purely due to Pobelter's willpower.
That's fair.
Like, he carried one of the worst LCS players of all time in Avalon, and they got 7 wins. Like, I understand. Like, I'm like, this is the first and only time anyone is ever going to refer to a player from Winter Fox as a positive trait, but like, that would be the time. And you know what? I don't think he enjoyed that very much. I think that speaks to your point of, does he want to be the primary carry? Probably not. I think Cody's son is more comfortable with it than you're indicating. I think his Varus and his Ashe, we don't think of them as maybe hyper carries in the same way, but they are great initiators. And we're looking now at a meta with these Thornmails coming in that auto attack 80 carries might not be where you want to be. Twitch might fall off quite a bit because of those kinds of changes. And I know we have a couple people in our Discord who've been a little bit more skeptical of the Thornmail changes. Grievous Wound plus attack speed slow, it's going to be cruel and unusual. And I think as soon as you guys try it out for yourself...
What do you do when a Darius is running you down with Thornmail and you're a Caitlyn?
Yeah, that's the thing, is you got to think about it from that angle rather than in the same way that, so like, some people are comparing it to Randuin's. Like, it's not a... No. It's Grievous Wounds, or one of those two, will be removed from that item by World's Patch. Has to be. We're not going back into a world of Thornmails the way we had League of Cleavers. Like, we can't. Well, actually, I don't want to say that, because we could.
Well, I mean, we're going to have at least a patch of it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll have a patch where everyone's just going to be building Thornmails, and I guess we're going to see more Ziggs in the bot lane. We're going to see 80 carry Ari. Like,
hey, 80 carry Corki. It's happening.
Corki.
It's back, returned back to its rightful spot. It's going to be fun. I like Cody's son, and I want to trust him, but I do understand what you're saying. I'm nervous. I wasn't nervous until this week, but that loss to P1, I'm a little nervous. Not so nervous against Echo Fox, though. Where do you think the line is on that?
Immortals minus 400.
Okay. You said the same thing I did.
Okay.
So we're going to split it. It is Immortals minus 556. They're still, I mean, compared to Echo Fox, and Echo Fox, our poor Echo Fox fans, it's been a hard couple weeks. But I understand the line there. Echo Fox is plus 350, which I think is fair. I don't want to bet 3 maps on this.
No, I don't want to touch the series. Echo Fox.
So, next up, Team Solo Mid versus Phoenix One. First game on day 2. The matchup that should have been the finals matchup of Rift Rivals, if you removed the country barriers.
Really should have.
Phoenix One played out of their minds. Yeah. Like we talked about Mike Young and how awesome he is. What else does Phoenix One have to do if they want to have an upset potential in this series?
So here's the thing. Like, Mike Young is the flashy, like, yeah, oh my God, look at this crazy rookie. Like, yeah, we have a rookie of the split. This is going to be great. He's making all these plays. X Special is the unsung hero of this team. They got one of the most veteran, consistent supports possible. And they paired him with an MVP AD carry that the last 8 weeks, let's say like, take the first month out of the spring split, then on, where he's just dealt with, 4 different supports, different play styles, teams realizing like, hey, let's just get in Arrow's face. I always talk about how Phoenix One, their tanks would just let him die. X Special's not. X Special is standing next to him every single team fight, every time they're running away, and he's like, nope, I'll eat the cocoon, I'll eat the tongue lash, I'll eat whatever stun, I'll do whatever, and he is working his damnedest to make sure that Arrow stays alive. And this is a guy who's played with like every big AD carry in North America. He's played with Double Lift, he's played with Chaos, he's played with Wild Turtle, he's played with Piglet, he played with, Lod, he's played with some like up-and-comers, like he's played with a ton of different styles, a ton of different players. He's played with a Korean before, like I said, Piglet. Like, I think he's the perfect support for them. He's a veteran. He kind of fits the like Ryu model of like, he's kind of quiet, he's kind of somber, but he knows his stuff about the game. And he has that veteran experience that he can bring in. Like, I think he's been playing longer than Ryu, in all honesty. I don't know what Ryu was doing in Season 1, but, like, X Special was around in Season 1. He was around in those WCG 2010 qualifiers. Like, this is a guy who's been around the block, and if you want to learn how to be a professional in North America, like, this is the guy. This is the guy who, sure, he had some problems with Reggie, but Reggie still respected him enough and tried to get him a good home, and there were teams out there that wanted him to be on their team despite some of the, like, clashing of personality issues that were going on in the background. So that's really been the unsung guy. He's someone that could either sit in lane, make sure Arrow feels comfortable, keep him protected, make sure he farms off. I can't wait to see Arrow Kog'Maw. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see X Special bring out like Alistar and like keep him safe, like that kind of stuff. That'll be fun. But he's also the kind of guy that's like, all right, Arrow's safe, Arrow can handle himself, I'm gonna roam into the mid lane. And that is a lot of what Phoenix One did at Rift Rivals. That's a lot of what North America just did in general of, all right, let's bring the support and jungler into the mid lane. Let's go after these, guys that just focus purely on their laning statistics, farming up, controlling everything that way. And, it really worked for them, and I think it bodes well for them going forward. Like you said, this could be a very, very dangerous 6 seed, especially when you look at Dignitas above them. And I love Dignitas. I really want to see them excel, but we're seeing some top lane changes come in, and I don't know how well that bodes for Someday. I don't want to see Someday play super tanks. I want to see him play carries, and Zig can kind of play everything. Zig feels like he's a master of Kled, and everything else he's okay at. Like, he has some good games, he has some bad games. And tanks take away some of his inconsistencies, I think, in laning, where he can just sit back and be like, all right, I'll let you push the wave into me, and I'll farm under tower, and I'll push it back to you, and I'll try and set up a Shen teleport or whatever. So things are looking up for Phoenix One, but I think it's more so because of X Special helping Arrow stay safe than it necessarily is this, brilliant spark and fire that's been shooting out from Mike Young.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's both, right? I think Mike Young, being the guy that he is, has been a massive impact as well, just in terms of getting the early game going the way that they want. But yeah, I feel 100% vindicated by my decision to put X Special as my third team All-Pro support last split. I got a lot of flack for that at the time, but I all the things that you're saying are all the things that I saw in him, and I've continued to see in him throughout his career. He is consistent. He is reliable. He makes enough plays to keep his AD carry relevant. And for Phoenix One, that's been a huge shift for them. I gotta be honest. I think that this team could very easily sneak into a playoff spot. I think that the way they're playing right now is better than what I'm seeing from Dignitas or Envious right now. And then we'll see, those teams can still pick things up. But if Phoenix want to continue on this path, I would not want to be the 3 seed going up against the 6 seed Phoenix 1.
Yeah,
like,
would you want to be would you want to be CLG going against Phoenix 1?
No.
Do
you want to be Immortals versus Phoenix 1? No.
Probably not.
Does Cloud9 want to meet Phoenix 1? Not really. You'd much rather play Dignitas or Envious than that Phoenix 1 right now. Yeah. And that's going to be very interesting how that whole seeding goes, right? I think that we're certainly going to have to see more. But, 3 and 7, it's not impossible. They're only 2 games back right now.
Yeah. It's definitely doable. Like, it's definitely doable from them, and it's doable from FlyQuest. We'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to that. Where do you think the line is?
TSM minus 250.
Come on here, monster. I said TSM minus 240. You get it. TSM minus 278.
Why would you pick 240?
There's a line that is pretty much exactly there. I forget which decimal place it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought it was going to be...
I saw that. I'm like, why? 240 seems like such a weird number.
The decimal system, it converts out. But it doesn't matter because it's not minus 240. It's not minus 250 either, but it is minus 278. So you get the point there. Phoenix 1 plus 200. There's some value in that. TSM riding off the high of an international competition. Maybe took some time to enjoy themselves and celebrate. I don't know.
It's like here's the thing. We haven't seen the bad TSM loss yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like straining. I'm like, it's getting late here. This isn't a bad one. Like the sweet spot would have been them losing to Cloud9. Like that was the sweet spot of like when they have these, losses to like Echo Fox, these bad, weird kind of ugly losses. And then the week after, a la Rift Rivals, is when all of a sudden they come out and they, 2-0 the other top 2 teams in the league, and all of a sudden TSM is at the top of the table, and everyone's like, oh yeah, TSM is the best team in North America. I'm like slightly worried, but I still think that TSM is coming off a really large high from winning Rift Rivals, and that they finally really figured out what they're looking at. This could be a really close series.
Yeah, I just think plus 200 might have value. But we'll see how you feel about it when we get some more lines in here. CLG versus Dignitas. How do we feel about Dig, man? It feels like going 0-2 this week, including a loss to FlyQuest. Like I'm getting a little sick of this. I got to be honest with you. I'm peeved. I'm frustrated.
You're peeved. Peeved. I'm peeved. I'm annoyed.
Why is this happening? Walk me through it. Why are we here? How did we get here?
I don't know. It feels like they're sort of falling back into this like, oh, we'll just let someday, split push us to victory kind of thing. But they also have like CLG syndrome where they're just not consistent enough, and I think it's the bot lane. I really think the bot lane here is to blame for most of their issues. We know that Shrip can be aggressive Shrip feels kind of like a Cadian where he's super aggressive in the early game. He looks really, really good in the early game. Yeah, I know they have terrible early game statistics. He doesn't have great
40.8 EGR.
Whatever, eye test wise, they look super aggressive early on, and you're like, yeah, like this is really flashy. Like he's making some plays, and then he just falls off. Like he doesn't know how to team fight. He doesn't know what to do after like 25 minutes of the game when he can't gank anymore. It's like, oh, okay, so they're relying on Someday to be their primary playmaker. They're, trying to have Keen be this guy that's making all of these roams, that's trying to set up all these plays in the jungle, and then you sort of have this bot lane where you're deciding between Lod or Altec, and Lod, I just don't think has the mechanical strengths, but he's a little bit better in team fights, and Altec has the mechanical strengths, but he's not great in team fights because he's a scared little chicken. And now that there's Thornmails, he's totally justified of like, I don't want to be anywhere near this. I totally get that They've looked better with Altec, in all
Yes.
honesty, because I think he's better in lane. He has the mechanical skills to handle some of these really, really good and aggressive AD carries and lanes, and I just don't think Lot is there anymore. Like, I'm off the train. It's unfortunate because I think his play style kind of fits them pretty well when you're focusing on, mainly top and mid lane. It's nice to have someone who's just can tower push, tower push, tower push. But if you can't lane, it's kind of a problem. Like, if you can't play anything but Ziggs and you're an AD carry, maybe you should not be an AD carry? I don't know. But to be fair, he looks like, if you go back and look what he played Ezreal last split, he looked really good on Ezreal. And if these Triforce kind of AD carries make a comeback, maybe he looks better on them. Like, I'm just sick of it. I'm just tired. I just want Dignitas to decide whether they want to be a good team or whether they want to be a bad team. Because this we're going to go back and forth between maybe we're going to be dangerous in the playoffs or maybe we're going to be a bottom 3 team in the league. Like, pick one of those things and just be it. This must be what Jin Air fans feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this must have been, like, what Jin Air fans feel like. Like, because I'm so excited for them one moment, and then the next moment, like, my heart's broken in a million pieces, and I'm dying while giving birth to my 2 twins named Luke and Leia.
Wow. Okay. That got a little, that got dark real quick. I gotta say, it's been interesting with Dignitas because they've been the anti-CLG. Their game 2s have been solid. They do a very good job of adapting right away. It seems like, funnily enough, they've had a better job on Red's side than they have on Blue in a lot of this, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the answer is here, because I think that the big problem, right, if you're not going to have the great early game, which as a whole they don't, then what you need to do is you need to set up vision and get the team fights and be setting them on your terms. And wards placed permitted is not a great stat to point all of that out, because you can place a whole bunch of wards and not act on them properly. High Team Liquid, who leads the league in wards placed permitted. But 3 worst teams in vision in the league: Dignitas at 3.46, Echo Fox at 3.44, FlyQuest at 3.39. They've all got a very similar problem. They don't know how to close games, and they don't know how to force the team fights on their terms that they need to have those big moments to turn the game around. They do very well if they can snowball. If they can get those early leads and hold on to it and just split push, they're all right. But I have deep concerns about their ability to play as a 5-man roster and make the most of it in those kinds of situations. And their early game is not nearly good enough for me to say, like, oh, but it'll be fine because they'll figure it out. It's not. They're not there yet, and it's unfortunate to see. Dignitas fans, you're back into trust the process mode. Have fun. Where do you think the line is, Walter?
CLG minus 300. I don't believe in Dignitas anymore.
Stop it. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I said CLG minus 275. It's CLG minus 294. You get the point. Almost exact. Dignitas plus 210. I don't want to bet on this series. I'm just kind of done with believing in Dignitas. So we should at least look at 3 maps here. 3 maps is out to plus 115.
I mean, I'd almost guarantee that's going to happen because it's Dignitas and CLG.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh, look, the team that's the best at game 2s versus the team that's worst at game 2s. Feels like game 3 is going to happen, so we might have to come back to that. Cloud9 versus Envious. We already talked about Cloud9 today. Give me a quick, 60 seconds on Envious. How are we feeling about them right now?
They could be really, really good if they replace Seraph. They could be really, really good. They also need to decide who they want their mid laner to be. I if they're trying to be a good team and not just a fringe playoff level team, I think they need to just make a decision. stick with whoever it is and let them get the experience playing in the LCS. Let them get the experience of playing against Bjergsen and Jensen and Ryu and Hui and all these other, really great, North American mid laners that are all imports, and just get the experience, and then look towards next year to really have this core lineup that's really strong. Apollo and Hakuo and Lyra are all studs. Like, if I can have Apollo and Hakuo as a bot lane, I take them. Like, separately, they're probably not as good, but together they just mesh. And
Yes.
I think it's more Hakuo. Like,
Hakuo is amazing.
Hakuo is fantastic, and I remember when he came in, we were all just mocking, like, what? Who is this guy? He's terrible. Like, this is it, and he's sort of turned into this like stud of a support. He's besides Smoothie and Biofrost, like, he's probably the third best support in North America.
Can I be honest with you? I think he's outplaying Smoothie right now. I think he's not a number 2 right now. He's really good, and he's doing like if you think about the degree of difficulty, right? Like, Cloud9 has a whole bunch of other things that gotta help set Smoothie up to make these plays. Hakuo has been, even if the stats don't necessarily back up all of this, like, he's doing so much to keep them relevant, to keep that laning phase safe, to really push out these early game advantages, and they do have the best early game in the league, 59.3. The problem is they're not converting on it.
Yeah.
Lyra's very good at getting them ahead, but then when it comes down to the team fights that are supposed to keep them there, that's where they're really struggling. And it's hard to believe in a team that struggles this much to close out games. Where do you think the line should be on this series, Will?
I'm going to say Cloud9 minus 300.
Got this one as well. This has really been a rough couple weeks for me. I said Cloud9 minus 400. I thought we were going to be done treating Envious like a serious threat to the top tier teams. It is Cloud9 minus 323. That puts Envious at plus 230. I think that's fine. I don't want to bet 3 maps on this.
I think we have to respect Envious, because I think they're showing, that they're the best out of like Dignitas, Envious, and Phoenix One. Like, over the course of the entire split. Now, like, granted, Phoenix One is coming on hot here, but I think Envious across the board is like better. Like, other than Seraph, like, if they replace Seraph with like someone slightly above average, like, let me put it this way: how much better is this team with? Well, I guess he's like average. Seraph is like the middle.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Middle top
You
laner.
can't. He's not as easy to replace as you think, especially because it would require an import slot that they don't have.
No, it doesn't.
They want to make. Yeah,
No, Seraph is not an import.
right. So you would have to get another non-import because they have a mid lane import and a
Like,
jungle.
how much better would this team be with Zig? Like, if Zig was on this
I think
team,
Zig
would
is
this team
much
be better?
worse than.
You think he's
than
worse than
Seraph.
Seraph? Okay.
Yeah, Zig has
That's
been
fair.
face checking bushes like there's no tomorrow.
That's fair.
I've really been against what I think Zig is taking a step back, which has been frustrating to watch.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair then.
If Licorice wanted to move up, he might be the one guy. Like,
Stop it.
Come on.
Stop it.
Are we
Stop
off
it.
the Licorice hype train?
No, we're super on the Licorice hype train. I have thoughts about where he should end up.
Okay, well, we'll have to save that for our Licorice podcast later on, which will be both about the player and the food, for kind of a nice blend there. Let's move on. Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. It's fine. Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. Walter, FlyQuest.
No, let's talk about licorice instead. Let's talk about black licorice. No, I want to talk about black licorice and why it is the most disgusting food on the planet. I would rather talk about that for 10 minutes than even waste any breath on these two teams, because I don't want them to exist anymore. I am
FlyQuest
miserable.
won 2 games
I don't
last.
care.
We have to care, though.
I don't care.
Why did this happen? How did they pull this off? We have to at least answer that question. Is it because either the answer is that both teams that they played against just flopped, which I think to some extent is true, but they were also doing things. What were they able to do that we haven't been able to see up until this point this season?
It's just team fought well. Like, at the end of the day, that's all it came down to, is they just waited for a big team fight at the end, and they won 2 or 3 of them in a row, because that's all this team knows how to do. If you're asking for FlyQuest to individually match up with any other team in the league, including Happy Birthday, Steve Aaron set. Like, they can't. They just can't match up individually. Their only hope is to drag this out to 35 minutes, 40 minutes, where gold leads don't matter, or where you can just win a team fight and take Baron and then, slingshot the game back that way. Like, this is not a team that's going to win in the early game. This is not a team that's going to win in 25 minutes or 30 minutes. This is a team that their wins have to come in that, 35 to 40 minute mark. And I'm sure Chase is going to look at the scoreboards and see what the time for all these games were. And, of course, FlyQuest probably won 2 of them in 25 minutes or something stupid because screw the eye test. But
no, a 44.6 early game rating. Only Dignitas is worse than them. They're not winning the early game.
Yeah, so...
It's not going well.
That's not where League is right now. That's not where the game is at right now. It's not late game scaling. It's not trying to win these late team fights. And if the teams that they played against, we're talking about Echo Fox and Dignitas. Like,
the 2 teams that we've already complained on this podcast, either in previous episodes or today, don't know how to close out games.
Yeah. So what should I take away from this? Like, FlyQuest is a more cohesive shot calling team. They're a better team fighting team because some of their players have been playing together for a very long time, and they do have this late game cohesion. But other than Moon, none of these players, if I could replace these players with someone else to play the first 25 minutes of the game, and then at 25 minutes pause, bring out this roster to finish out the game with the exception of Moon, have him play the entire time, yeah, you might have a really good team. But the first 25 minutes, this team is awful. I don't want to watch them. They don't know. They don't have the mechanical skill to make plays in the early game. So I don't care. We're seeing teams win games at 29 minutes. We're seeing teams take Baron at 20 minutes in the game. And FlyQuest is like, all right, guys, we still have 15 minutes until we might be able to win this thing. Let's go. Let's go. It's like watching CLGEU without the mechanical prowess of Froggen hitting every single CS, and casters going, okay, let's see how many CS in a row he can hit without missing. Because that used to happen during CLGEU games in Season 2. Where they'd just be like, all right, this is his 6th wave and he hasn't missed anything. 7, he finally missed one. And he just got 35 CS in a row without missing one. You don't have that with FlyQuest. It's boring. I hate watching this team. Ugh. I'm so glad they won't be in franchising.
Are we sure?
I'm changing my tune. I don't want to see this team in franchising.
We're going to have to... That's going to be a story to follow, especially now as we're getting Overwatch League details. I think that's going to be an interesting sign of how these things are going to go.
Can you see me rolling my eyes?
I see it. Where do you think the line is, Walter?
I want to say Team Liquid just for the memes, but I also want to secure the victory for the week. FlyQuest minus 175.
Okay, come on now. Stop it. Are you did you make your lines after mine? Because all these have been just 5 or 10 below me just to snipe me. I hate it. I hate this.
The difference is that I kind of know where you place your lines now. I am doing what you think I'm doing, but I'm doing it before I get your lines.
It's unfortunate, because this means you're going to get the week. Because I said FlyQuest minus 180. And it's close. FlyQuest minus 167, but you're now 5 points closer. And with that, you take a lead in our challenge. Man, I don't know. I'm off. I think the stars have been misaligned. The Jupiter's sun is in the wrong, or Jupiter's moon is in the wrong part of the world. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna watch this series. Are you gonna,
what's Team Liquid's underdog rating, just real quick?
Plus 125.
Plus 125. I got you.
3 maps is even, so there's no value. And why would you want to bet on this series?
Because you're a degenerate gambler, and I don't know. No,
I'm a degenerate gambler, and I don't want to bet on this.
I just want to say, since I purchased the belt, I've been riding a hot streak.
Yeah.
I've been riding a hot streak since the belt was officially purchased.
I don't like any of this. I just want to be on the record of saying I don't approve. I don't appreciate it.
That's fine. You don't have to appreciate or approve of anything.
That's becoming more and more clear. Cloud9 versus Immortals for first game on Sunday. 60 seconds. How does this match go? What are you expecting to see here?
This is gonna be a super, super, super close series.
Yeah.
That is gonna be won by Jensen. Or one of the supports. Like, every game is gonna come down to one play where one of those three players do something. And it's gonna be like an incredible flash hook. It's gonna be a 4-man shockwave. It's gonna be, I don't know, but it's gonna be like an incredible play where at the end of the season we're gonna look back and go like, this is one of the best plays of the year. I think these teams are really, really evenly matched, and it's just gonna come down to their playmakers and what they can do. I don't know. I don't know which way I want to go with this. Like, I'm gonna give Immortals the edge just because I have a little bit more faith in, like, Flame versus Impact or Flame versus Ray.
Yeah.
But I have more faith in Jensen versus Pobelter. I just think Pobelter can play. I think Pobelter is a little bit safer of a player than Ray or even Impact. Like, I don't think he'll get caught out. He'll get caught out, like, one less time than Ray or Impact is kind of how I'm putting it. Yeah. So I'm gonna say Immortals minus 135. But just know, I just want you to know, probably 3 or 4 times I went back and forth between saying this was even versus saying this was Immortals slightly favored.
Yep, I had the exact same problem. I said Immortals minus 130. It's Cloud9 minus 120. They're the favorites in this series. Immortals minus 108.
Wait, why? Why is Cloud9 favored?
Immortals 102 last week, and Cloud9 went 2-0, and they're the same record. Well, no, actually, Cloud9 is a little bit below, but they have the same map record at 15 and 10.
So Cloud9 minus 120, Immortals minus 108?
That's correct. 3 maps is minus 105, so we're not betting on that.
This series is just too difficult to call, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know who wins. Like I said, it's gonna come down to like a couple players just making a big play.
Yeah, it's gonna be close. Phoenix 1 versus Dignitas. Does Dignitas have the tools to deal with Mike Young and what that bot lane is doing right now?
Maybe. What is Dignitas's win condition? Like, Dignitas's win condition here is be a better version of Phoenix. Like, have Someday just carry, and we saw all last split that just having Someday carry isn't a great model. Like, when you're just relying on it, like, everybody sees it coming. Like, Someday picks Jax, everyone's gonna be like, I wonder what Dignitas wants to do. I think they want to play a pick composition. Like, no, they want to play a 1-4 split push and just try and have him win. Like, come on. It's super, super obvious. I try and weather the storm and hope that you guys somehow figure out how to close out games. Because Phoenix 1 is still not the greatest at closing out games. Like, I still think they have macro problems. I still think that some of their decision-making in the late game is suspect. But they're able to build a big enough lead that it kind of insulates some of those problems. Like, they still lose team fights at 25, 30 minutes. It happens. It's just, does it happen often enough, or do they have, a little enough lead that you can eventually overtake them and, slowly grind your way out to a victory? I don't know. I don't think Dignitas is the team that's going to do it. But at the end of the day, I think they have the best player on the Rift, and his name is Someday. So there's always a chance that they can just roll over. And yes, I think Someday is the best player on the Rift in this series.
According to social media, Mike Young is now our Lord and Savior. So how dare you say that anyone?
Mike Young is a rookie that's played, 10 professional games in the LCS? Like, less than 20 professional games? Yeah. I'll say less than 20.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm aware. I love the Mike Young hype, but you're right. Someday's the best player in the series. Yeah, my one thing, I think that the advantage that Phoenix 1 has is they are much better at taking a one team fight and pushing that advantage than Dignitas is. Dignitas needs to win several fights because they don't really know how to close. Phoenix 1, we had a couple games at Rift Rivals where they were behind, they got one fight, and then won the game off of it because they're just a little bit more decisive. But where do you think the line is?
Phoenix won minus 150 because I'm not sure the casinos fully trust him yet.
Yeah, the fact that we both knew that Phoenix 1 was going to be the favorite shows they put a little faith in it at least. I also said Phoenix 1 minus 150. It is Phoenix 1 minus 125. Dignitas minus 105. And I got to be honest with you, 125 is a good enough line where I'd consider making that a smart money bet. This is a safe, like, we're pretty sure we're going to win that one. Because I'm pretty confident that Phoenix 1 is a better team. Next up,
I am too, but I want to see if there's where other value might be.
Yeah, that's fair. TSM versus Team Liquid. Walter, I want your response to the interview that Steve had this week where he said, we are going to field a roster of the best players in League of Legends. That was the thing he said. Team Liquid's going to do it, man.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
I feel, this is what I'm like. If you're a Team Liquid fan, aren't you begging him to shut up at this point? Like, you can't possibly. No matter how much of a diehard you are for Liquid, you know that's not true. You just actively know that that's not going to be the case. Because if he did, and if they were going to do it, why didn't they do it for the last 5 years?
Listen, Steve, you are just a hooker on a recorded phone call with you saying something racist about Koreans away from being Donald Sterling. Like, can you just settle on being Dolan for just a little bit? Like, God.
Steve Aronsets banned if he's gonna go full Dolan.
God damn it, dude. Like, just off. Just off. Like, yep, sorry, future Nick the producer, you're gonna have to edit this, but whatever. Like, off. Why are you talking? Your team is in last place in the LCS. Your team is awful. Your team clearly does not know how to play League of Legends. Why the are you out there trying to say, like, yeah, we're gonna sign the best players in League of Legends? Cool. I didn't know you had Faker in your sights. I didn't know you were gonna offer $5 million for Faker to come to North America. That is freaking incredible. I am so impressed by your business and your talent acumen. Shut the up. I get it. You're the face of Team Liquid. That is the biggest mistake ever. Like, stop. Please. God, stop. I want to stop editing curse words out of these podcasts when I have to freaking talk about you. Stop it. Like, it's not funny anymore. It's just not.
It's pretty funny. I'm sorry. I'm enjoying it.
It's really not. When you really look at how he has ruined Curse's and Team Liquid's reputation in League of Legends. Because frankly, yeah, it's funny because they're a joke. You're laughing at it because it's so ridiculous that Steve Aronset would even utter those freaking words. Like, this was one of the 3-4 biggest organizations in League of Legends in Season 2. Like, this is Curse. Curse was the third team. It was them and Dignitas constantly battling it out between who was behind CLG and TSM. Like, this used to be a proud organization. And I'm so sorry to Liquid fans. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with this. From the bottom of my heart, like, if I had to deal with this owner, I would never want to root for this team. And I can only pray to God or to Tryndamere that that racist conversation comes out with that hooker at some point. Because y'all don't deserve this. Y'all don't deserve Piglet to continually be your AD carry. You don't deserve to have this guy come out and tell, oh yeah, Golden Glue, we trust in Golden Glue, blah, blah, blah. And then have the audacity to come out multiple weeks later and say, yeah, we signed the best that League of Legends has to offer. You clearly don't. You really don't, or else your team would have accomplished anything in the past 5 years of being a franchise. Like, I'm done. I am so done with Steve Aronset. And I cannot believe that everyone else just, like, is laughing it off. Like, oh yeah, it's Steve. Crazy Steve Aronset. Like, Dolan gets crucified by the New York media. He gets look at Dan Snyder with the Redskins. He gets crucified, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's all a big funny joke." Like any esports media person that has a sense of self-worth should be killing this guy in columns. And no, because he's Steve Aronset and he's, oh yeah, I pull out my HTC phone and I'm good at marketing. And like Bill Simmons talked about on the podcast, talking about NBA free agency, about how like guys like Jamal Crawford or Jared Dudley, like they buddy up with all the media people, and like they were talking about David Griffin, the former GM for the Cleveland Cavaliers, like, oh, I buddied up with all the media people, and now they're talking about him like he's this genius, like, oh, he'd set up all the stuff to win them the title and all this jazz. Like, no, he didn't. He walked into Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and LeBron James. Like, of course he's gonna succeed. Like, this is what happens when you pay for like Travis Gafford to go to Hawaii to do pieces in Hawaii about your team. Like, you don't get crucified in the media, and I'm sick of it. Like, media people in esports are just as much to blame for Steve Aronset still being around than Steve Aronset is himself. Like, I'm friends with people in it, but in all honesty, you guys should be murdering this guy. You should be murdering him in the media with everything he says. Like, that's not a joke to say that and then have a 2-8 team that's won 6 maps, period, in 5 weeks. That's not like, oh, that's a funny leading headline. Like, that's a headline that you go out and you say, here's every mistake that Steve Aronson has done in the past 4 years.
And here's the thing, right? Like, first of all, I'm so glad we had that rant because that was wonderful. But second of all, we know that individual player talent is not necessarily the problem with Team Liquid. Individually, some of these guys have put out good performances. The problem is they don't play as a team. So even in the best case scenario, if you're going to give Steve all of the credit in the world and say that, well, it's not his fault that he didn't know Rainover was going to be as good, that wasn't going to be able to live up to the expectations. And he wasn't going to be able to predict the Golden Glue can't play on a big stage, which really he should. And you can't predict that Piglet was going to play as badly as he has, which really you should. But let's say all of that was in his favor. Getting the best individual players is not how you get the best team in the league. It's just not. You need guys that work together. You need people who are willing to sacrifice their resources appropriately. You need people that can communicate well and get along and share the same idea of a team. And for the record, what is Liquid's team ideology? What is their goal other than let's hope Piglet carries us every once in a while? Like, I don't know, man. If I'm a Liquid fan, I don't want to hear my owner saying those kind of things. Especially, isn't this a split where he said he's going to be more hands-on, focused with the team? Why aren't you, instead of saying these kinds of things and preparing your press releases and getting your headline, which I know you like to do, why aren't you actually working on what's going to fix your team? Why aren't you actually going out there and addressing the real problems rather than selling people on some future idea that you've been trying to sell people on for 3 years now? I don't want to hear about your future plans. I want to hear what you're doing now. Because this Liquid team is very lucky that relegations are not a thing.
They're surviving to be franchised in because they have Magic Johnson behind them, and Riot loves that there's Magic Johnson behind them, and they're going to hype that up. And Steve Aronset's still going to have a job when it's very clear that he doesn't deserve one. You don't deserve your job, Steve. You don't. Any actual major sport where you're the general manager, you would have been fired by now. You would have been fired 2 weeks ago, honestly.
Yeah.
You would have been fired in the middle of the season. Let's not freaking kid ourselves here.
There are so many periods where you would say that if I was running Team Liquid, when would I have fired the general manager? And it's before this year. Like, it's just been...
It would have been when he comes into my office in the spring and says, listen, guys, I want to re-sign Piglet. What? What? One of the most unmarketable people in the LCS that's not good enough anymore to be an LCS AD carry that we benched and put on our challenger team. You want to re-sign him to our main roster. There's the door. Get out of my frickin' office.
Oh, man. I have to laugh because otherwise I'll cry because it's just really bad. And it's a shame. And I'm sorry, Team Liquid fans, because you don't deserve this. You don't deserve an owner who cares more about headlines than actually fixing his team. But unfortunately, that's where they are. Where do you think the line is, Walter?
TSM minus 666, because I hope Satan himself comes out and drags Steve Aronset into the bowels of hell.
Well, I said TSM minus 500. I don't know why I went that low. That was a mistake. TSM minus 1250. We're done with Liquid. We're done. It's over. Team Liquid plus 600. Yeah.
Fuck off.
My favorite part is you having to edit the next 9 minutes of this.
I don't care. You knew what you were doing on purpose, and I don't have to edit it. Nick, the producer, has to edit it. So I hope he is very, very mean to you on the next Fantasy LCS episode. I really hope so. I'm gonna write him a script that brings up Atlanta blowing the Super Bowl to New England every other sentence. Stop it.
For the record, I just want complete aside. The fact that on our Hearthstone, I saw them trashing the Falcons yesterday. The Lich King blew a 28-3 lead. Like, come on now. Come on, Hearthstone? Is there nowhere safe? Nowhere is safe.
You won that argument, man. You won that argument. I would rather not make the playoffs for nearly 20 years than lose like that. You have won that argument, friend.
It's not.
I'm going to bring that up in my best man speech at your wedding.
I know. Okay. Echo Fox versus Envious. Let's move on. Get somewhere back on the rails. Where do you think this line is? I don't think we need to talk about this series right now.
Envious minus 200.
I get this one because I said Envious minus 180. It's Envious minus 149.
Disrespectful.
Echo Fox plus 115. I agree. A little disrespectful. Unfortunately, means we're not getting any value on either side because the 3 maps is a minus odd. Let's get our smart money bets.
Disrespectful line there.
I think CLG and Dignitas going 3 maps is a great bet.
Yes, plus 115 on that. I take that 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. I like taking Phoenix 1 minus 125 against Dignitas as a safe bet.
I like that. Yeah, I'm down with that.
Because what that does is we can take a swing at something if there's anything that pops out to you.
I'm looking at either like Phoenix 1 beating TSM.
Yeah.
Or maybe like Envious Cloud9 potentially.
I'd rather take Phoenix 1 over.
Let's do Phoenix 1 over TSM. I'm gonna hedge my bet this week. There we go. Phoenix 1 over TSM. I'm okay with that.
That's a fan hedge. It's your favorite. Those will be our 3 smart money bets. CLG versus Dignitas, 3 maps plus 115. Phoenix 1 minus 125 over Dignitas. And then Phoenix 1 plus 200 over Dignitas. And the podcast over 70 minutes of quality content here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly had fun. I knew I was unleashing the beast there, but I didn't realize it was going to be that delightful. I think that it's going to be a fun week of North American League riding high off of this Rift Rivals. And if you enjoyed this, you should definitely subscribe to the show either on YouTube or if you want to subscribe, soundcloud.com/esportsroughdrafts. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at RedShirtKing if you want to talk to me about anything I said today. Walter, where can the nice people at home find you?
You guys can find me at Ceades_LOL, where I will be tweeting that segment of the podcast directly to Steve Aronset, hoping to earn a block.
As we should do. And of course, if you want to talk to us more directly and during games and things like that, we have our Discord channel. Links in the description. Constantly keeping conversations going on there. We've got a great group of people on that site. But that's going to be it for us for League of Legends talk. But there have been 2 really great movies that came out in the last week that I think Walter and I want to talk about and share our thoughts with you guys. So if you like that kind of movie talk, stay tuned for that this week. Of course, next week, Wednesday EU, Thursday NA, just like always. And until next time, goodbye, Internet.
You can follow the Rough Drafts Podcast on all your favorite social media sites. Twitter @RoughDraftsPod, Facebook.com/RoughDraftsPod, SoundCloud.com/esportsroughdrafts, YouTube.com/RoughDraftspodcast, as well as on iTunes by searching for the Rough Drafts Podcast. The Rough Drafts Podcast is supported by our lovely Patreons at patreon.com/roughdraftspod and by viewers like you. Thanks for listening, and goodbye, Internet.